Hey guys, obviously this is going to be a TWAB video, live reaction and read through. Thank you for watching. I'm Wrath Nightbane. This week at Bungie, 3/30/23. This week at Bungie, we're still recovering from the emotional roller coaster that was last week's story mission and this week's remembrance centering around Amanda Holiday. Well, we're still making our best attempt at pretending we aren't sobbing messes over our favorite mechanic. We did want to share our preview of the mid-season weapons update, a fun behind-the-scenes look at development animation horrors, and an update on what our player support team is working hard on. Here's what we're going to be digging into this week. A preview of our mid-season update from the team, answering a question about one particular weapon players are searching for, a behind-the-scenes look at placeholder animations regarding that gun, update from our player support team on known issues and coming updates, the community's favorite artist of the week, and a movie of the week picks of the week. In case you missed last week's vlog, here is helpful TLDR. Lance Reddick, rest in peace, much respect. Shared a quick wrap up of a recent Crucible blog post. Through the Nightmares. Says of the Master and Challenge mode begins this week, which has already happened. Let's see. Before we move on to the actual TWAB, we wanted to pay tribute to the incredible Amanda Holiday. Last week, we all said goodbye to a character that proudly walked the Guardian path in every way but her title. Holiday gave her life during the season of Defiance, and she did so in the most Amanda way possible, like a compassionate badass with a capital B. No matter her trials, her heart never shied away from caring about those around her, even when her mind begged her to be more reserved. We saw it with her friendship with Crow, and against all odds, we saw it in the small ways she showed our Vanguard that she was there to support them. We also saw it each time we spoke with her, even if we just needed a little ship tune-up. On a more personal note, I worked on aircraft when I was active duty military, so I always looked up to Amanda as a character and felt a special bond with her. I could see myself in her. I wanted to be her. She was a light and had a strength I don't even think she knew about. It has always been inspiring, and her journey will continue to inspire long after her sacrifice. Amanda Holiday gave up her life to help those around her. For those who needed protection, needed safety, she sacrificed herself for a cause she believed in, and it's our job as Guardians to make her proud. Amanda Holiday, much respect. You know, she's been around since D1. You know, suffered a lot at the death of Cade 6. Both start with the letter C, but, you know, Cade 6, whom she cared about a lot. Time for a difficult conversation. We've been keeping an eye on community feedback on overall difficulty since Lightfall's launch, and we have some changes in today's update and future updates that retune certain experiences. In today's update, we've reduced Legend and Master enemy HP scalars for non-boss units, which we felt were a little higher than we liked. Reduce the enemy HP scalar and all non-raid dungeon, legendary, and master activities by 10%. Reduce the co-op enemy HP scalar and legendary Avalon by 3% in a full fire team. We've also made some additional reductions to commendation requirements so players can reach their milestones at a more enjoyable pace. Reduced Hawthorne's Weekly Challenge from 20 to 5. Guardian rank objectives that require players to give commendations from 7, 8, and 9. Further reduced commendation score requirements for Guardian ranks 7 to 9, rank 7, 200, and up to 910. Mid-season preview, Weapons Edition. Hello everyone and welcome to another mid-season Weapons Balance Pass preview. Weapons team here. This is not going to be a huge one, but we feel that the changes we have are impactful to the sandboxes in both PvP and PvE. Also, as a note, in case you missed it, in last week's patch, we corrected an issue with target lock, thus making it significantly more forgiving to use than intended, which originally would have been included in this patch, but we felt the change warranted being pulled forward. That is that means that like if you missed a shot, it would not reset, I'm pretty sure, in the patch notes. So yeah, it's being pulled forward that they issued early. PvE, primary weapon balance. We wanted to see how the PvE sandbox shook out after the release of Lightfall, not necessarily to see if primary weapons needed a buff, but more to see how much we should buff them. We've done quite a bit of testing on these numbers and content ranging from heroic nightfalls to legendary campaigns, all the way up to grandmasters, and we think that the changes are impactful without invalidating the difficulty of the appropriate levels. In heroic and legendary content, we should be more likely to one-shot red bar enemies depending on your weapon type, and even in GMs, we have shaved how many shots it takes and time it takes to kill for the below weapons against red and orange bar enemies. We want to add that we do not believe we are done with tuning weapons damage and weapon damage in PvE. This is merely a starting point, and we will revisit it in the coming seasons to make sure everything has a place in the sandbox. Good, because some things do feel kind of bad. Increase the damage of the following weapon types against red and orange bar enemies in PvE. Auto rifles, 25%. Good. Pulse rifles haven't been considered weaker and harder PvE content for some time, so we wanted to make sure the buff we gave them was substantial, while at the same time keeping them below the lower ranged options in terms of pure lethality. Pulse rifles have struggled being less effective than scout rifles, despite for the most part having a less effective range. We also put sidearms into this group because they similarly lagged in damage output compared to the longer ranged SMGs. At these values, pulse rifles should be in a more reasonable spot. Hand cannons should feel like they pack more of a punch, and sidearms should fall much better into the high risk, high reward category. 20%. Scout rifles, 10%. We need to be careful tuning scout rifles up too much because they offer the benefits of very safe engagement ranges, paired with unlimited, and also making them too strong instantly turns most endgame PvP content into outrange your enemies to where they don't shoot at you, pretty much. So we move them up as well, 10%. SMGs and bows. We tune the rest of primary weapons using these two archetypes as benchmarks, but as mentioned above, we will continue to keep an eye on the primary weapon balance in PvE and may revisit their tuning as needed. I think bows are fine. I think SMGs, for the most part, are fine, to be honest with you. Some machine guns. Aggressive frame SMGs have been very strong in the PvP meta for the last couple of months, with a handful of outliers taking most of the credit. The Echelon SMG was something of a mystery to us, as we continually fell and got reports that the gun seemed to have much better stability than its stats would indicate it should, compared to other SMGs. Originally, the Echelon SMG was built back in the Hormine era when we had fewer guidelines on how to keep weapons balanced, and upon doing a deeper investigation, we found that some custom tuning had been added to the weapon's scope to give it a recoil reduction effect. For comparison, the recoil reduction tuning was like having an effect nearly equivalent to Zen Moment at max strength and always active. Okay. We have removed that custom tuning, and the recoil should now feel in line with other SMGs. Okay, that makes sense. Like, the fact that it has Ikelos, and I mean, it was just, you'd beam with Ikelos. We are aware that this change in isolation, while noticeable, is unlikely to put much of a dent in aggressive frame SMG's current dominance. So we have a larger change to reduce the damage of the aggressive subfamily that will release alongside Season 21. So they're not even getting to nerf the overall archetype until next season, which is like, I think 7 weeks or something away or something like that, if I were to guess off the top of my head. The change will be targeted at shifting the resiliency threshold, where the gun can achieve its optimal 0.67 seconds time to kill, down to a lower value to force a more reasonable 0.77 TTK against most players, while also decreasing their forgiveness of missed crits. Good. Fusion rifle. When we last touched fusion rifles, shotguns had seen a big drop in effectiveness because they nerfed the crap out of shotguns. And we were concerned that rapid fire frame fusions would rise up to take their place. As such, we preemptively nerfed rapid fires pretty hard. In today's sandbox, this is less of a concern due to the renewed strength of shotguns. following the airborne effectiveness and pellet spread changes. So we have walked back some of the damage nerf we made to rapid fires. This change will push them back to activating all resilience levels and 7 bolts and give them a decent bump to ease of use. Increase burst damage by 15. Damage per burst goes on from 245 to 260. Damage per volt goes from 27.2 to 29 pretty much. Damage in PvE is unchanged. Yeah, I've already seen that people are saying that this is a bad change, and I really agree with it. Like, I don't understand why fusions never receive a nerf, and the fact that they're getting reverted, even though they're still very, very popular. Like, I've still seen rapid fire fusions, and they're still, they're going to outrange shotguns, which is kind of a given. Like, you need to compensate for the charge time, but it's like, the fact that they outrange and they don't really have, a huge pellet spread. Like, I think this is a bad change. I think this is going to, make people use, rapid fire frames again, and I mean, they are using them right now, but, let's move on to trace rifles. Yeah, I think this fusion rifle change is a bad change for rapid fires. Like, I don't think that they should, try to force these into PvP, which is essentially what they're doing. But yeah, moving on to trace rifles. Trace rifles are in a bit of a precarious spot in the Crucible. They've never been really that good. They're not really a cheese, but it's like you can get a kill with one if you catch people off guard. They can kill very quickly from long ranges, even outside of their optimal time to kill. On the other hand, they can be difficult to use, and they often feel heavily ammo limited if you are not hitting the optimal TTK. We did a lot of experimenting with them for this change, including multiple combinations of damage and crit ratios, and settle on the values below as the highest we could push their damage up before they became frustrating to deal with in Crucible. Interestingly, the damage any higher than this, the feeling was that they had a surplus of ammo, especially in 6v6 modes, and could often net 2 kills per special brick pickup, which was concerning. Yeah, that makes sense because, I mean, the whole thing about, the way that they changed special ammo is that 1 ammo brick would give you 1 kill, essentially, tops with the weapon. Like shotguns, it's obviously 1 shot. Glaives, I think it was like 2 shots, etc. Once we moved their damage values, they still felt like they needed a little bit more, and we wanted to lean harder into making them feel good to use. So we increased the effect that stability has on reducing flinch at the high end of the stat. We will monitor this change when it goes live, and we revisit the ammo situation in a future update if their effectiveness remains low. Increased base damage by 4%, goes from 12 to 12.5. Reduced precision hit multiplier from 1.4 to 1.35. Wait. Crit damage goes from 16.8 to 16.9. Why am I confused by this? Why is it 16.8 to 16.9 when they reduce this? Okay, I'm not gonna try and wrap my head around it. Increase the effectiveness of stability at reducing flinch by 10% at 100 stat. Scales down at lower values. A lot of traces, low-key, just have really high stability. Otherwise, it would just be weird for them to use, and they would really suck, to be honest. Sniper rifle. Rapid-fire frame sniper rifles have long struggled to find a place in both the PvP and PvE meta. In PvP, their inability to kill with 2 body shots puts them on uneven footing with other snipers. And in PvE, their fast RPM but standard inventory size means you constantly feel low on ammo. To address these concerns and differentiate them from other sniper subfamilies, we have reduced their recoil by 50%. This means hitting crits on a boss or champion in PvE is much easier, and taking rapid follow-up shots in PvP is too. We have also increased their inventory step by 30%, which should give them a lot more rounds to play with in PvE content. Reduced recoil by 50%, increased total ammunition, magazine plus reserves by 30%. I think this is a really good change. This might actually bring this change, assuming it's for all rapid fires, I mean exotic included, means that You know, Cloud Strike is, probably going to be even better. You get more ammo reserves with it. I don't think anyone's really, I mean, even with how like squishy Nezarek is and all that, like I don't think Cloud Strike has gotten any use. This could potentially make it, a meta weapon. They're not doing to anything, I guess, to the damage, but yeah, I think this is really, really nice. Exotic weapons, we got revision 0 right here. Final warning being able to track targets through barricades. Oh, final warning, yeah, the sidearm that you can charge and release a wave of bullets that track targeted or marked targets. While fighting the same felt pretty unfair to play against and was not an intended mechanic of the weapon. Can no longer mark targets through Titan barricades. Okay. So, I mean, I'm assuming you can still kind of like, peek and get a mark on them. But yeah, this was kind of stupid. I've never actually seen it myself. But yeah, I'm really glad they're doing this because I mean, who knows? I've actually just started using Final Warning myself, and I think my opinion of it is that in PvE, like you can actually do some really heavy damage with it with the bonus crit damage. It's actually a lot of bonus crit damage, and it's got pretty good ad clear because the bullets track, and you don't really need to. It's almost like, I mean, to me, it's almost like eyes in a way, I guess, where it's like, you select numerous targets and then you can just delete all those targets, only it's obviously a primary, where it's like not as much damage, and I mean, you don't need to waste a heavy on it, but it is an exotic weapon, so it should be, fairly strong and niche, which I think it is. Teraba, this weapon is something we have been keeping an eye on for a while, probably because they don't know how to nerf it, and they finally are. And with the spotlight being shown on aggressive frame SMGs, it felt like Teraba has had its time in the sun. When the weapon was introduced, there was substantially less survivability in PvP, and the intention was that it would take nearly 2 full engagements to get Ravenous Beast active, which made it one of the costliest perk activators we had in game and justified the extreme power it offered. As the sandbox has progressed, however, survivability has increased and it has become possible for Ravenous Beast to be very close to activating after a single engagement. This has meant that savvy players could purposely bait or take a small amount of damage, like standing in a grenade's effect, to top off the perk, and then have it active for the second engagement. The increased ease of access has made Ravenous Beast an outlier in today's Crucible, and we were left with the options of reducing the potency of the perk itself or trying to make its activation more difficult, and we decided to work with the latter, which makes sense. I think that, Ravenous Beast, the perk itself is it's like a it's like being able to, proc Cascade Point without having to, land precision hits with another weapon or get a kill with another weapon, type of thing, where it's, you can have that weapon out all the time, and then you can also, proc it on its own by dealing damage. So let's see what they do. This reduction in energy granted from taking damage puts the onus back on the user to deal damage and shifts the balance of the perk back towards a difficult activator that justifies its reward of opponent effect. In addition, we are continuing our mission to address zoom outliers, and this felt like a good time to reduce the Zuma Turbo back down to something more in line with the rest of the SMG archetype. Reduce the amount of Ravenous Beast energy generated when taking damage from 3% to 1%. That's huge. It's a huge trim, making it a third as effective as before. Reduce zoom from 16 to 15. It's also good. I'm pretty sure that's pretty standard for high impact SMGs. Let me even check here really quick. Let me see. Okay, maybe I'm losing it. Where is... Oh, aggressive frames. Okay. Like the one that was just released, the Immortal, its zoom is 14. If we look at other ones, we have Blood Feud, the craftable from from a couple seasons ago is 14. If we look at Cold Front, 14. Old Cold Front, 14. If we look at Unforgiven, it's also 14. So it's like, I mean, yeah, I guess the title has 15 zoom, I guess. What does Icalos have? 14. So yeah, in terms of the aggressive frames for SMGs that I'm looking at right now, which are just kind of the ones that I have available in my vault, it's definitely more in line. Like 16 is, that's like, I think that's like an auto rifle, type thing. But let's see. Revision 0, 4 times the charm. Working when Revision 0 went into Hunter's Trace is a fun and intended interaction, but it caused some unfortunate issues. Activated it too early while the perk was up, caused the weapon to overflow its limited mag size, and returned to the normal pulse rifle mode. We have made a fix so that FTTC can continue to work while Hunter's Trace is active, but it will not be able to grant ammo until all shots have been expended. This means you can still enjoy the 2 free shots provided by the perk as long as you hit all 4 Hunter's Trace rounds without worrying about being kicked out of the mode. In addition, we have buffed the damage of the Hunter's Trace rounds by 25% in PvE, and we have buffed the Hake heavy burst rounds by 75% in PvP. This will now make it more of a trade-off when choosing between the origin perks, either dealing more damage in the primary mode, but charging Hunter's Trace more slowly, or dealing less damage, but charging the bonus shots more quickly. 4 times the charm will now be reset when entering Hunter's Trace. This will prevent the issue of firing a single shot while in Hunter's Trace and being forcibly returned to pulse rifle mode when FTTC activates. Increase PV damage of the Hunter's Trace by 20%. Increase PV damage of the Hake heavy burst rounds by 75%. Thank goodness. 329.23 TWAB reticles. I guess I'll watch this. This looks kind of like what they did with the this looks like what they did with the all right, Salvation's grip is getting a buff. I'm not gonna lie, cool. But I mean, it's gonna have to be something substantial because this gun is low key like it's the most useless exotic. But yeah. So this video or whatever, this video, just looking at it, means that they're going to be showing the alternate like fire modes. And it reminds me of a weapon that they introduced this season, which I'm sure, they got positive feedback for, and it was Deterministic Chaos. Because if anybody knows when you're hip firing deterministic chaos, you can see like how many, like which progress, because obviously after 16 shots fired, you get the hybrid. Is it? I always forget, but okay. So every projectile that weakens targets, every fourth bullet becomes a heavy projectile that weakens targets on impact. And then every fourth heavy metal projectile also makes targets volatile. So deterministic chaos, interesting because it's obviously a debuff, a machine gun that can also make an enemy volatile on the 16th, technically the 16th shot of every clip. Which, if you think about it, with its magazine of 48, you could have, each series proc theoretically 3 times with 12 shots for our 12 shots are for for weakening technically, and then 3 for making things volatile. So you can just be killing a lot of different ads and be focusing more on like the heavy target, I guess, so to speak, while still clearing the red bars around them type of thing. But this looks like, it's going to be a good change for a few different weapons type of thing. But really fun. These is just, hipfire reticles, useful information. Obviously aggressive frame is getting nerfed at season 21 launch. The sniper rifle damage with rapid fires, or a 10% PvP buff to sniper rifle damage. Oh, I guess this is every sniper rifle. So we're getting this, and then obviously like rapid fires are also getting their other buff. But more than a dozen exotics weapons. This is good. I constantly think that, they need to be looking at exotics that are underperforming or never used, because there's a good amount of fun exotics in this game, but you can't always use them because they're not optimal, right? So very fun that they're giving us this, interesting tidbit. In the future, we are going to be taking a look at how zoom interacts with damage fall off and the base damage fall off ranges of all weapons in general. I think that this refers to I think this has to do with certain weapons. So you have certain weapons that like zoom better with rangefinder and that sort of thing. And they kind of nerfed rangefinder, but it's still one of the most coveted perks. I know that for the Immortal specifically, you were looking for like a target lock rangefinder. Most people were saying that was the god roll for the new Immortal that you could earn, technically like almost 2 weeks ago, obviously, because the first day to earn it would have been 2 weeks tomorrow. But I think it plays an interesting tidbit that, zoom should not determine the damage fall off, the archetype of the gun, and that zooming should assist. It should assist in like your aim, like possibly your aim assist, or just you being able to get a clear picture of players. But it shouldn't determine that your gun just has substantially more, because I think what makes a gun fun and unique is that it can have different range, and you can have different play styles. Like, one example that I can think of is that I'm a pulse rifle user, and I know that Cold Denial used to be a really popular pulse, but interestingly enough, if I pull up Cold Denial in my, in my collections, this thing's zoom is only 14, which means that Terraba's zoom is higher than it, even though it is a 340 pulse. If you look at other 340 pulses, you've got, Legal Action 2 is literally a 22 zoom. You've got Messenger, let me see. You've got, I guess, the retired, or you've got New Purpose, the Duality Pulse that has 18, so that's 4 more. and even but 4 less than legal action, which I guess, seems to be an outlier. Then you also have, let me see, you also have, like I said, where is Messenger? Oh, here's my Messenger. Messenger is an 18 zoom. So it's like well balanced. It's not, some astronomical high thing, but you don't have, you don't have this ridiculous zoom type of thing. And I mean, other pulses, they range around like 18 and 19. And I'm kind of looking at this. Here's another one with 19 that I'm looking at that aren't the same archetype. Like, let me look here. Let me compare these, type of thing. So it's like I have 9 in my vault in the kinetic slot. Let me see if there's anyone that I missed. There isn't anyone that I missed there. But I guess, we could look, we can look at, even pulses in the energy slot, and we've got, Grid Skipper, popular one, zoom of 18. Jurassic Green is 17. Another pulse rifle, let me see here. We've got, zoom is interesting. It's an interesting stat that hasn't really, I don't think has been addressed in a long time. Ogma, 17. Horror's Least, 17. Insidious, 18. Graviton Lance itself is 17. 17 for Collective Obligation. Battler, as we know, had its zoom nerf down to 18, which is more in line type of thing. But let me see. 17 for Yorm's Claw, which we could earn last week. Stars and Shadow, an older one that I know people have used, 18. Bailey's X, another aggressive frame, 18. But yeah, it's, zoom shouldn't always mean that it's, that it's doing better at longer ranges. Like, it's just, it's kind of a secret hidden stat, longer ranges have typically always done better in terms of like controller play and that sort of thing. So hopefully they address that with this. There's so much to go with it, I guess. And it's like, further range, I think, but it's, I'm not gonna get into a whole debate. I'm just kind of sharing my own personal example with it, and it's just, so let's look here. Zoom and perks like rangefinder that manipulate zoom have become a requirement on several weapon types, either to compete at all in the sandbox or to allow the weapon to exceed its intended engagement ranges. That's why Immortal was apparently so good, is that like, oh yeah, this thing's busted. It shoots like an auto, but it beams like an SMG with a lower TTK. This allows us to begin to consolidate zoom values on certain weapon archetypes, which removes an important lever that we can use to modify weapon feel, given the effect zoom has on field of view, recoil reduction, and aim assist falloff. We will be investigating decoupling damage falloff from zoom. This would be paired alongside a refresh of the base damage falloff values to compensate, which would allow us to better control the engagement ranges of individual archetypes. To be fair, every single weapon that's in the same archetype should have the same effective zoom based on range, theoretically, right? But it's like, there's ones that just outperform right now. And, you should be able to use rangefinder to maybe have a, easier time getting a bigger target on the head, or being able to get more information with a better zoom, or be able to see an enemy better. But it shouldn't necessarily just dictate that your gun is automatically better and outperforming any other gun of the same archetype with it. Like, it's just kind of they're kind of admitting they didn't really, they mentioned rangefinder in this, but they're kind of admitting in a sense that it's like rangefinder is busted, letting us continue to use zoom as a tuning knob for weapon feel without dramatically changing their performance. I don't think it should change their performance at all. I think that if you're doing zoom right, you can have higher zoom on certain weapons, and you can have lower zoom on certain weapons, so maybe your field of vision isn't as compromised, which is what I'm saying. It's like, if you have a lower zoom weapon, it typically just kind of gets outperformed. But this is a very good thing. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I'm not gonna lie. But let's go and look at this. The case of the missing Kvostov, the original weapon that was everyone's first weapon, technically, in D1. A peek behind the developer curtain. Cinematics director James Myers has an answer that many of you have been asking. Where the heck is the Kvostov weapon seen in cutscenes? Funny story about that. We'll let Myers take this one. Myers, during the production of Lightfall, a certain story beat was pitched related to reluctantly aiming a weapon, and we quickly realized that we would need to animate that moment much more specifically than we typically handle Guardians pointing weapons in previous scenes. Many players have noticed some of this silly results in some real-time scenes, even when we avoid extreme poses like our Guardian holding a bow at the end of the Witch Queen. Oh, okay, that's interesting, because I never saw a bow, but I can imagine, because you were literally holding a gun up to Savathun. Spoiler, but it's been out for over a year. So I spun up a thread with the studio leads and suggested that we decide on a default weapon that we could feature if we ever needed something specific like this. I suggested the Kvostov because it's the very first weapon every player receives in Destiny. Literally every Guardian has tinkered around with this weapon, so it felt like the right call. I do like the Kvostov. It's fun. Honestly, you can still re-earn it if you go and do the New Light campaign. I don't know how many times you can do it, but it's really funny that you could just acquire the weapon, through the campaign every single time, or the New Light campaign. But aside from that, at the same time, new systems were being developed that would feature Guardians like commendations, and similarly, there were a lot of visual bugs popping up with certain weapons like glaives and bows. The animation team was stretched thin, closing on cinematics, and a new set of animations was unfortunately something that would cost us other content. Because of that, we made this decision to use the same default logic in the instances where a visual bug would detract from the quality bar we aim to achieve. Regarding helmets seen in in-game cinematics, I have seen some folks post screenshots of their Guardians from recent real-time cinematics, and many were helmetless. Something we started doing in Lightfall is respecting the player's choice of helmet or no helmet in real-time scenes. Where appropriate, we'll keep your helmet on in the vacuum of space, for example. Because, I guess I don't even know if our Guardian needs to breathe, I guess, but for the most part, if you choose hide helmet, you'll see your Guardian's face. And if you don't, you won't unless there's a special exception. I don't want to make that promise too airtight just in case. There is one caveat in mind. The Season 20 cinematics were in production before we finalized this plan. So from Season 20 onward, this will be consistent. Okay. As a little bonus sneak peek, some animators in the film industry were recently discussing how they push animation poses in ridiculous ways to get the framing just right on camera, making for better shot composition and framing. It stirred up some interesting conversations, so I figured we'd show you one of these reframings with an example from the Season 20 intro cinematic, whatever it takes to get the shot, what you see. What we see. Yeah, really funny, after Amanda blasts Crow with her Shappy. But there will be wallpapers. And because you all had to see the hidden horrors of animation right alongside us, here are some freebie wallpapers to enjoy as a return to normalcy. As a treat. Plus, we can just take a moment to drool over the Mara art, because definitely going to snag that one for my new background. Desktop, we have this one, which is like the knighting, you're becoming our Queen's Guard, type of thing. Root of Nightmares, where Nezarek is. Final Encounter. This one is low-key really cool. Why don't we see the giant dude? I forget what they're called. I feel bad. Needlestorm, fun. Neomuna. This guy, Nezarek himself, who Might I point out that, I mean, his helmet, low-key, even though it doesn't look just like Nezarec Sin, it has the same kind of forward-flowing, upward, uppercut type style that Nezarec Sin has on its little horns. Here's another one of these. Goodness, this is really funny. They should do an event where this thing happens, where you can jump on and ride this thing, even though they probably won't do that. Oh great, the new legendary Vexcalibur mission where you face the new guy. Another one of these on Neo Muna, very funny. Oh, the most busted super of Lightfall. More Queensguard where we're kneeling. Oh, the Titan with its, well, you can't even see its blades, but this in its super, its Berserker super. Another Hunter one. Nezarec again. This close up. This thing really big again is really funny. All of these really close up, I guess. I'm really... Okay, let's see here. Loadout crashes. Okay. Guardian rank update. Okay. I mean, known issues. Let's see. Preservation isn't available. Interesting. Hydroponics Delta lost. Also, has a lot of respawn time. I was honestly wondering about this, like a little bit when I was playing it, because I died. Because I happened to be doing this for my flawless, and I was like, well, we're not doing this 4 more times or whatever for rank 7. Like, I was like, we're gonna wait for another day because it takes long when you're, that under light that early. But yeah, the respawn timer was long. After I tried to do it like a second time, or even on the first few times that I wasn't able to do it. But veteran players do not receive the correct amount of lore books when they rank up. Okay. Reservoir burst explosion with subsistence can sometimes fail to activate on kill. That's kind of a buzz kill. I don't even know what rolls with reservoir burst subsistence, because this is honestly kind of an OP combo. Adept Trials Handcam is getting 1 round less in the magazine than the non-adept version. Okay. The grab lift on Neomuna is tied to frame rate, causing players with higher frame rates to die. Yep. Non-Lightfall quest showing up under the Lightfall quest category. Yep, I've seen this. Weird. Hunter Gauntlet's Thunderhead grips are missing as an ornament for armor synthesis. Wow, that's just rude. You couldn't have your Thunderhead. Stuff that they showed off in the trailer. Certain heavy weapon archetypes are not benefiting from equipping a 3rd reserve mod. This is still going on. It's an issue because you could only put on 2 before, I think, and then the game just just a little bit of coding, I think. Players are no longer able to equip the Unbroken title. That's because they aren't unbroken. Every Guardian is broken. You can't tell me you've died, once you've died, you're broken, and you can't be unbroken anymore. I'm just kidding. I don't have the title. That's why I'm saying that. Restoration reverts to a lower timer when reapplying the original source of the buff. Okay. Weapons can mark targets through Titan barricades. Okay, I thought this was only the one weapon, but you must be able to mark with the Hunter exotic. I am trying to remember. I can't remember what it's called. Foe Tracer. Foe Tracer can, track. I don't know what other weapon can really mark, I guess. But oh, maybe you can also you can mark with Tikus or something too. But Threat of Generation stops functioning on hunters for grenades that aren't grapple after using their super. Okay. Unpowered melee can produce fast melee combos in quick succession. Okay. Players experience a black... This is a rubber banding issue too, and it's one of those bogus things that's maybe you don't know about it, but it's someone can have not necessarily leg up, but recover time if they know to do uncharged, and the other person is just going to do another melee right afterwards. But players experience a black screen when previewing armor bundles on PS5. Why does PS5 always have their own specific issues? I feel like it's only ever them. Not to roast them, but they always have their own issues. I mean, you know, Xbox has had crashing problems in the past, but that's like different. That's not like a UI or visual issue. Some players on Steam are unable to progress past the class icon loading spinner on launch. Please send us your Diagon or help forum. Oh, this looks bad. I mean, commendations are grayed out as already given in some activities. I found the loophole to this. Usually, like right now, I mean, usually when it did this before, it would take it away completely. But if you go to where you see the Guardians are staying, it says it's already given. If you go to details, you can click the little star next to people's names. Usually, I mean, from what I've noticed all the time now, if it ever glitches out like this, so you're able to give the commendations. So, I mean, just a heads up to you guys just a heads up if you are doing this. But to strand or not to strand is not really a question at this point. You should be using strand probably. It's kind of OP, but let's look at some of this where we've seen Rocket Ryan, but have you seen this? I'm assuming this is like you can hit the bullet or something. I'm not going to watch it. Nearest walking to the bar, stop us if you've heard this one. Nezarek and Eris. I've fallen with love with Nezarek. Actually, we'll look at this quick. Pretty clean. I wish Nezarek had been honestly a far harder boss. Eris Morn, drawn by friends. This is really cool, really nice. What is this? Let's check it out. A dog. This is a good woofo. Very fluffy. Looks like Lassie. And nice apron or bandana. I mean, that doesn't even look like a bandana tied around it, but I don't know. It's cute. It has cupcakes on it. Who doesn't want cupcakes, you guys? But, oh, we missed this. Look at this Easter egg. Oh, more doggos. Fluffy ones. And a short-haired one that I'm sure is lovely as well. But, you know, my thoughts on this, I hate the fusion change. I don't understand it. People don't use rapid fires because they use longer range fusions right now, but it's like if you're buffing, you know, rapid fires like that, they're just gonna be way too easy to use. Like it's like knocking down shotguns again. It's like I think shotguns are in a good spot. I really do right now. Yeah, you can somewhat map people if you have like a really good roll, so to speak. But it's not like it was, you know, before where it was in such insane range and whatever else. But, you know, tell me what you guys think, whether, you know, you like this TWAB. I think I'm just going to end it, you know, looking at this thing because I really wish, you know, we had a giant Neomuna moth flying around. Like, I really wish we did now. Like, oh my goodness. But yeah, tell me what you guys think. Thank you for watching.